Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and as usual, every night, Mike Jones and I bring you inside news, which is about local politics. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Dale. Um, I hope that I'm not the only one amongst us who is glad that this is the end of all the candidate information. I
Brother.
am. I'm full up to here. I've been to every one of these meetings, and as I've said before, this is one of the drawbacks when you like a particular candidate and you want to hear more of exactly that kind of stuff, not that same stuff, but that kind of stuff from them, and then you hear them again, you go, oh, well, that was the same thing, and then you hear it again.
That's why I've been trying to say something a little different at every one of these gatherings, and that's not always easy. But my gosh, it's kind of never
nature of the beast.
Yeah. Now we brought you all of the candidates forums live. Well, almost all of them live. Some of them there was a little delay. Got every one of them here, and this is the last one. This is KAJO's version of exposing. Oh, that didn't start right. Of giving you exposure, but showing you what the candidates have to say. And so they gave each of them 10 minutes. We can't play 10 minutes from each of 18 candidates. It's too much. It's already too much. So
we could, but we'd be here for several days.
Oh, brother. So what we're going to do tonight, as we did last night, this is part 2 of 2, hooray, and we're going to play back more than half of what they had to say and try to cut it at a good point and then go on to the next one. And I'm hoping that you'll kind of be educated by this. We're going to start off with Keith Heck. Here we go, Keith.
In studio, we're welcome County Commissioner Keith Heck, who is running for re-election to County Commissioner position 2. Keith, welcome to the microphones, and tell us, why should we vote for County Commissioner Keith Heck?
Good morning, Chuck. Appreciate the opportunity. Well, it's I'm here. I've been doing the job for 3.5 years, and learning the hard lesson that the first year that you're in this position, you might think you come in knowing all the answers, but then you realize, oh, my. And the first year is really a learning curve. And I feel very comfortable now with dealing with the issues and dealing with the different topics we have to handle and deal with. I've got a track record in the county that goes back 20 years. I've been involved in a whole host of different agencies and different works, supporting different programs, from Boys and Girls Club to Gospel Rescue Mission and all those kinds of things. And I don't want to say I'm sense the heartbeat of the community, but certainly I have a pretty good idea of what is going on. I'm able to relate to folks from one fringe to the other fringe. I don't need to deal with people that if you don't agree with me, I don't talk with you, kind of a thing. I just enjoy people, and I like the opportunity to try to serve and try to make things work. And to that end, I would like to be able to do at least this next term, and there's not going to be one after this one, but this would be the last one. I want to do it.
All right. Well, during this term, we're facing what's been termed a financial crisis within 2 years. SRS funding is down. How do you see the commissioners handling this situation? Is there a way out?
Well, and we need to understand, too, that the SRS funding and that SRS ended in 1970. We've been living on incremental stretching of that rubber band a long time, and now it's snapped, and we don't have any additional funding that is pending right now. There are those who say it will still be coming. Okay, so it comes, let's just say we do get our $4 million. $4 million is 1/4 of what it was 15, 20 years ago. So yes, it's a difficulty, but people need to understand that the bulk of the county's operations will continue. I mean, we've worked hard to make the departments solid and to make departments like the fairgrounds and the parks and other departments, they are self-supporting folks. They don't take from the general fund. So even though there is a crisis of public safety, there's not a crisis county-wide as far as operations go. So obviously the situation with county safety is a serious issue. And we as a people, not just as commissioners, we as a people need to come to grips with how are we going to either fund it, or are we going to be satisfied with what we have now, a very limited sheriff's department, limited jail space, And that's the question that we as the people need to understand. Commissioners can't pass taxes. People pass taxes or turn down taxes. That's not the commissioner's job.
All right, you dealt into law enforcement and public safety there, and yeah, I believe I'm correct. And you're the liaison to LIPSIC, the local public safety council, yes. In which every facet of community safety is involved, mm-hmm. including the courts and the DA's office and all of the local law enforcement agencies. They came out and declared that there is either a crisis right now in terms of criminal justice, or one is looming.
Yes.
And you just alluded to the crisis yourself here. What do you say to those commissioner candidates who say that there is no crisis right now? What can you base that assumption on?
It wouldn't make any difference what I said, because they wouldn't believe it anyway. So it's a moot point as far as that goes. There's a serious issue. I mean, all you have to do is look at the obvious situation. We need to have money for the criminal justice system to make it continue to work or continue to stagger along as it has been. We're very fortunate. The district attorney's office right now is fully staffed, and they're able to do basically anything that comes across their desk. That does not mean that they're fully staffed for a full staffed public safety department, but right now they can do that. Community Corrections is basically a state-funded agency, so they're able to work with people. The court sentences them to probation or whatever, community service. The Sheriff's Department, that's the big issue as far as the county is concerned. And that's a very serious issue, because we're looking at losing a large amount of money, and there are no monies to. People say, oh, well, take this $1 million there. Okay. You have a $7 million need, and you're going to solve the problem with $1 million. No, I mean, okay, that's cheap advice, and it doesn't answer the question that we have to face. It's a serious issue that we have to look at, but it is not. The county is going to collapse as far as operations go, but a serious part of the county is going to be highly hindered, and that's the public safety criminal justice system.
All right.
Okay, so now we're going to go on to the next person, which is Paul Walter. We're playing as much of these as we can. I'll keep mine for last. I wasn't last in the original list, but I'll keep mine for last. If there's time, we'll play mine, and whatever, try to fill in if it's absolutely necessary. So this one is Paul Walter, and he has a few different kinds of things to say.
We're welcoming in studio a county commissioner candidate for position 2, Mr. Paul Walter. Paul, welcome to the studios of KAJO. Why should we vote for Paul Walter for county commissioner?
Thank you for having me, Chuck. I appreciate it. As folks know me here for past 15, 20 years. I'm the editor of newswithviews.com. I'm a successful businessman. Before that, I had another successful business called RV Doctor for about 30 years. And the reason I'm running for county commissioner, because I have been predicting for 15, 20 years that if we don't elect decent people to office, we're going to lose our country. Well, today I believe we're at the edge of the cliff. And going back to the county, we need to streamline and consolidate departments to save money, reduce fees for new businesses, no new taxes, bring honesty, responsibility back to Josephine County, get government out of businesses' pockets so they can expand and grow, and we haven't been doing that. We need to bring accountability and honor back to Josephine County, and you know what I mean by that. We have officials in office who can't put a bottle down and text young ladies that if they like to get into her pants, and we have officials who do questionable things. It's on the front page of the Daily Courier, and we need to stop this kind of thing, and that's one of the reasons why I'm running. Now, we have good commissioners running that I support with all my heart, like Ronald A. Smith, for example. He's a decent guy, and also Nathaniel Duarte. He's a decent young man, and myself, and people can choose whoever they want, but by golly, don't vote for the candidate that's not going to serve you. Overregulate. One of the other problems that we have in the county is overregulation. Government sticking its nose in your business is not a good incentive for new businesses to relocate here. And one of the good incentives that we have here for businesses to relocate here that a good commissioner could court and bring here is low taxes. Sawmills are closing. And why? Because of environmentalists, bad management, and government overreach. So we have all these problems here. 7.5 years ago, Chuck, I said, and I was called negative, and I told people, don't vote for Obama because he's going to destroy this country. I'll call all kinds of names, negative and a mudslinger and everything else. Well, today we have 3 commissioners, in my opinion, that are extremely dangerous. And I would say to people, don't vote for any establishment candidates. Don't vote for anyone who works for the government because all they're going to do is serve government. Lily Morgan is one of them. She's a parole officer. She's an establishment candidate and a PERS recipient. And all she will do is work for government and PERS and high taxes. Dan DeYoung is another one. He said publicly at a candidate forum just recently that he's very proud of the sales tax proposal that failed in the city of in Grants Pass. And he also supports more taxes. We just had Keith Heck on here. And of course, he needs minimum of 5 years to receive PERS, and I believe that's why he's running, and he's another establishment candidate. Now, these are halfway decent people. I don't have anything personal against them, but I do care for this county, and I do love my country. And unless we do our homework and elect decent people to office, they're going to serve you, not the system. We're not going to change anything. Everything is going to keep going down and down and down. Just to make a small public announcement, Chuck, if I may. Today we have an Ann Basket, we have a candidate forum, and I do have about 50 Donald Trump bumper stickers that I like to give away to local people. If you want them to show up at Ann Basket tonight at 6 o'clock, and I have 50 of them. I'm working with Donald Trump campaign for Oregon, and I will be happy to give you one for free. Any questions that you want to ask me?
Oh, well, first of all, the county is obviously facing a financial crisis. How would you deal with it as a county commissioner? Besides, you mentioned streamlining in particular.
Well, the reason we're in a financial crisis is because of bad management. I mean, I have a successful business. I don't spend more than I can, that I take in. I'm very frugal. I'm careful how I spend the company's money that I represent, newswithviews.com. And if I was spending money the way the county spends its money, like, for example, they just spent, I believe it was $70,000 on testing the city water. Now, shouldn't the city water be tested by city government instead of the county paying for this? This was because we in the county are on a well. So why would the county spend $70,000 getting the city water tested for the city residents when the county government is supposed to represent the county voters and the county residents? And I believe that $70,000 that was wasted, or $80,000 or whatever it was, I'm not exactly sure, I don't have the figures in front of me, could have put a deputy on the road. See, that's why we got a problem in this county. We have people who don't think things through.
Well, okay, that was Paul Walter. Now, the next one I think worth listening to is, well, all of them, but is Bill Hunker. So here's Bill Hunker.
Our guest in studio right now is a county commissioner candidate for position 2, Joseph Rice. Joseph, welcome to the microphones of KAJO Radio. And why should we vote for Joseph Rice for county commissioner?
Sorry about that.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm running for commissioner in the sense that what upset me and what was my tipping point was when I watched the current Board of Commissioners hand over county sovereignty or propose to hand it over to the state of Oregon. You know, Josephine County has a good group of citizens. We have our own values. We understand what makes our county tick. To hand it to a bunch of bureaucrats up in Salem that really don't care about the people in the county, they only look at the administration of government. They don't appreciate people are struggling financially, making decisions between pay their mortgage or pay their rent, and just arbitrarily raise taxes to fit a gap in a budget is inappropriate. We never hand over our sovereignty. That's the job of a commissioner. Your job is to manage the county affairs, the budget appropriately. To throw up your hands and toss it to Salem, then why are you there? And so it's a protection of the citizens. Our Constitution guarantees our freedoms, our liberties, and our pursuit of happiness. And that's government's responsibility to protect the people, not run their lives. And that's my concern. I don't want to see Salem come in here and start running the lives of Josephine County citizens when they have consistently told the elected employees, I like to call them, that they don't support increased taxes or levies.
All right. Joseph, the county obviously has a financial situation facing it right now. As a county commissioner, what steps would you advocate to remedy that situation?
We talk about it. I've got some ideas. A couple of things. We need to go through a top-down funding. We have a representative form of government. Part of that is we need to look at what's important to the citizens of Josephine County. I would advocate putting out to the citizens, here's all the departments. In order of precedence, list the most important to the least important, and then funding appropriately occurs. Obviously, there's some areas that may need to go to part-time. Part of the things is our O&C lands. I absolutely support the lawsuits that are in process that County Legal Counsel Wally Hicks is working on. At the same time, I would advocate that the county assessor send a default notice to the federal government. They haven't, if you will, paid their tax on the land. They've voided their promise to the citizens of Josephine County. And I think it would be appropriate to repossess those lands for the economic health and benefit of the citizens of Josephine County. That's what their intended use is for. They're still public lands, but they're managed locally. In, budgetary shortfalls, part of it is economy. Our job in government is not to create jobs. What can be done is to create an environment for businesses to come in and create jobs. And we have to improve the regulatory environment that makes it easy for businesses. Last week at a forum, I had a local business owner here. They own 2 restaurants, and they're sitting in the audience completely frustrated because they don't know if they're going to be able to stay in business. 2 things affecting them: the increase in the state minimum wage and the regulatory fees they have to pay to the city and the county. Why are we driving out living wage job businesses? My proposal is any restaurant business that conducts, as we sit in this room, everything in this room, you guys pay a personal property tax on to the county. It's what you do business with. Any new business, I'd advocate a 24-month personal property tax holiday. Any business that expands, that expansion gets the same 24-month personal property tax holiday. It does not cost the county a single dime. What it does do is an investment into the sustainability of that business for the long term so we can create living wage jobs. A few weeks ago, I was in 2 places. I was in Huntsville, Alabama, booming economy, but defense dollar driven, and I was up in Bend. Bend has a thriving composite industry, a high-tech industry, if you will. We've got 2 wonderful airports. The Illinois Valley Airport has land. It has resources. Why are we not recruiting businesses into the area here? We need to stop this negative branding of Josephine County. They're good people here. I have my daughter, 11 years old. My wife was born and raised here. We need to say, move to Josephine County. We have the lowest tax rate in the state of Oregon. We've got a good, strong workforce. They're educated. They want to work. You've got wonderful recreational opportunities. The Rogue River, the mountains, we're an hour and a half from the Oregon coast. We need to sell ourselves and promote ourselves as a destination for tourism, for business, for good quality of life.
Okay, now it's Bill Hunker, and he's going to tell you what his plan is for Josephine County. Bill Hunker.
We're welcoming in studio a candidate for County Commissioner Position 3, Bill Hunker. Bill, welcome to the studios of KAJO. Glad to have you here. Why should we vote for Bill Hunker for County Commissioner?
Good morning, Chuck. Thank you. I'm a businessman, and I look at Josephine County as I would an $80 million company that is failing. Something different needs to be done. When a company is failing, I find it instructive to review their history and see how they got there. So I want to take a quick look back at how Josephine County became distressed. And then we can see what we can do to correct it. For 11 years, as you may know, from 1970 to 1980, there were 0 Josephine County property taxes, none. Mills were booming. In its heyday, there were about 40 mills in the county. But by 1990, the environmentalist voices began in earnest, and that started the spotted owl controversy, which migrated into the 1994 Northwest Forest Plan when timber harvests began to be curtailed. During all those years, from the 60s to the mid-90s, the county received receipts from cutting timber. For those 30-plus years, timber revenue fluctuated from a low of $2 million to a high of around $13.5 million per year. But through the 80s and the late 90s, more and more sawmills were closing. Families had to adjust, and they had to find other jobs and retrain, or they had to move to economically viable counties. However, every time a mill closed, the timber receipts still continued to arrive at the courthouse, keeping the county government funded. For those 30 years, the government did not have to dialogue with its citizens to fund county services, because regardless of the economy, Josephine County always had funding. Then in 2008, the recession hit the citizens hard, and they had to make major adjustments in their lives to stay afloat financially. And that scenario continued until 2011. That year, however, the county lost $4 million in secure rural schools funding, and the county panicked. The county felt that the citizens would understand their funding crisis in 2012 and decided to put a 4-year, $1.99 levy on the ballot. That May, it failed 57% to 43%. That failure was unexpected. Hoping to jar the public into the reality of the funding shortfall, 39 prisoners were let out of jail on May 30, 2012, and the public did take notice. And a new levy of $1.48 was sponsored for May of 2013, and it just barely failed at 51 to 49%. But the very next day, the infamous 911 call was released, and you'll remember that's the call on the woman in early morning who couldn't get a sheriff or Oregon State Police out. And that released call went nationwide, and it turned Josephine County into a, quotes, lawless county. The problem was that 911 call was actually made 9 months earlier. It was intentionally held until the day the 2013 levy failed and then released to the press. Had the levy passed, that call would not have ever been released to the national press, and we would not be perceived today as a lawless, Wild West county. In 2014 and 15, 2 more levies were tried, and they both failed. The 2015 levy cost advocates $118,000, and it failed by twice the margin of the 2014 levy. Each time levy supporters cried crime crisis, the citizens were less impressed. Crime crisis is now viewed in Josephine County as a fundraising slogan. Since the public has voted 9 safety levies down since 2000, one commissioner decided it was time to bypass the voters and go straight to the governor and force the public to accept state funds and relinquish control of Josephine's public safety. However, there was a catch to this plan. We had to have the governor declare that there was a public safety fiscal emergency. The public safety crisis, a public safety crisis we couldn't manage. This was easier said than done. There seemed to be no fixed numbers to determine what a crime crisis really was. So to solve that, the local Public Safety Coordinating Council, called LPSC, voted that we were either in a public safety funding emergency right now or that one was imminent. But our 3 Salem advocates, Carl Wilson, Herman Bertschiger, and Dwayne Stark, counseled LPSC not to go to the governor. They firmly believe that the people in the county can manage their affairs far better than Salem ever could.
Well, Bill has a lot to say, and we're playing back as much as we can about each of these people. And the next one is City Councilor Dan DeYoung.
We're welcoming to our microphones this morning Josephine County candidate for Commissioner Position 2, Dan DeYoung. Dan, welcome to the microphones of KAJO, and glad to have you here with us. And can you just tell me right now why we should vote for Dan DeYoung for County Commissioner?
Yeah, first off, I appreciate the opportunity to address the public through your radio station here. That's a good question. Why am I running? I've been involved in politics here in the Rogue Valley through the city, on the city side of it, for the last 6 years. Before that, prior to that, I watched people go in and out of the courthouse and in and out of City Hall, and I thought, well, they're operating on my behalf. And then I thought, what better way after having lived here for 60 some odd years that let's get involved. So I ran for city council and was successful, and then I ran for re-election 4 years ago and was successful at that. In the process, I've worked a lot with the county officials, with the Board of County Commissioners on different committees, and took a real interest in the county. I think I just I've wrapped my arms around the city, but now I think I want to wrap my arms around the county, because the county, I try to look at economic development and everything more than just the city. I think we need to look at it both as a county and a region. And I want to promote that as much as possible. I have some real concerns about criminal justice. There's a difference between public safety and criminal justice. Public safety is the city policeman and the city fireman. But once the city policeman arrests a perpetrator, he takes them and turns them over to criminal justice, which is the jail services, district attorney. It includes also juvenile justice and a certain amount of dispatch. So those are two separate entities, and they're both funded from two different places. Public safety, police and fire, local in Grants Pass, is funded by the taxpayer and via property taxes in Grants Pass. However, criminal justice is funded by county taxpayers, which it includes, by the way, all the people in Grants Pass. I had a gentleman the other day that stopped me on the steps of Van Basker, and he said, "I don't think you're eligible, should be eligible to be a county commissioner." And I asked him why, and he said, "Well, you don't live in the county, you live in the city." And I said, "So therefore, do you live in the county, sir?" And he goes, "Yes, I do." And I said, "Then you should not be able to run for governor, because you don't live in the state, you live in the county." And he goes, "Oh, I never thought of it like that." But that's true. We have to realize that everybody that's in the city is also county members. We always have been. We have to live by county rules and by county levies. We vote on everything, issues in the county. And the law requires that you can vote where you live, where you reside, where your physical address is. Then you are eligible to vote in that jurisdiction. So I want to get my arms around the county side of it. I look at Josephine County as being basically eight demographic areas, and demographic area, I mean, like Williams is a small community out there. I was at the Wolf Creek is one, Sunny Valley, Cave Junction, Selma, and Grants Pass. Merlin is a hub all of its own, and Murphy, Provost area. They all have different levels of service that they feel comfortable with, that the residents there feel comfortable with. I was up in Wolf Creek at the Lily Morgan and I went up and participated in the Wolf Creek Parade, and it was really neat, because there's a lot of really neat people up there. And I saw, it was on Easter, it was Easter Parade. I saw little kids with their baskets, and just like you'd see in any hometown America across the nation. Nothing different about Wolf Creek. And all the kids they all funneled down to the park to gather Easter eggs, just like they did here in Grants Pass, But the people in Wolf Creek want to live like the people in Wolf Creek. They live in Wolf Creek for a reason. And I don't think it's our duty or anything like that as county officials to go out there and tell the people in Wolf Creek how to function, or Williams, or Cave Junction. I think it is the function of the elected officials of the county to be there in case they need your help. I would like to see the Board of County Commissioners host a committee, and I realize that if I get elected, I could go out to any one of these boroughs and say, "Hi, I'm your county commissioner." They go, "Gee, I don't trust you. Get out of here." Well, I understand that, and there's some good reasons why there is not very much trust in any government anywhere, and that's from the top all the way down. Look at congressional approval rating is in the 8 to 11%. That's horrible, and we don't seem to be doing anything about it. But I would like to go in and just say, you know what, even like, for instance, Wolf Creek, where they all meet on Friday night and they drink beer and around a big burning barrel on the bridge there behind the store. Go into that group and say, "You know what, I know you don't trust me, but I want you to pick somebody that you do trust and send them to town, or let's get together once a month. Let's crack open the books and we'll show you that the power bill for the courthouse is $1,150, and here's the check we're going to pay it with." you'll get to see a grassroots. Send me somebody you trust to send your message to town, to the county seat, which is Grants Pass. Send your message to the county seat, and then also deliver the message back and what's going on firsthand in county government.
All right, so couple more. Here is Lily Morgan. Lily Morgan, until just recently, was also a city councilor, and here's what Lily has to say.
Welcome to the studios now of KAJO. To our microphones is the county commissioner candidate for position 3, Lily Morgan. Lily, tell me why we should vote for you for county commissioner.
Good morning, everybody. I believe you should vote for me because I have proven myself as somebody who puts the community first and is willing to work alongside everybody here to come up with solutions that can bring Josephine County to the place that we're all proud of.
All right. Bringing Josephine County to that place we're all proud of means some funding has to be taken care of. There's a fiscal cliff lying just ahead of the county here. As a county commissioner, what would you do to avoid that fiscal cliff that has been talked about? Are there funding streams out there that we can utilize that have been overlooked?
Well, I believe that with everything that we have to look at with the budget, all right, for instance, I assume you're insinuating the road funds that could be used for public safety. And we have about $2 million that are in the road fund reserve, and about $750,000 of that can be utilized for patrol. And yes, that can be used for patrol. And then we are left with a emergency fund that is at $1.25 million. And we've used about $700,000 in the last 3 years for emergency road situations, with culverts going out, with repairs to bridges that have been unexpected. So yes, we can move about $750,000, as we know that just pays for a few deputies, and it's going to last 1 year and then it's done. So that funding will have to be replenished. And it also means it leaves our reserves without funding. So if an emergency happens, it might put us in a jam. But we also have to make sure that we're taking care of the immediate needs that we have before us today. I got to say, the first thing I'm hoping to do is to get out into each of the communities and open up a dialogue and say, what do you want? What do you need? And help us be a part of the solution. Really, we need to build consensus, and we need to be working together and look outside of the normal standards for what we're looking at for funding. Maybe there's things we can say, we don't need that, we need this, but the reality is we need to feel safe. And right now there's communities in our rural areas that do not feel safe.
All right. Talking about safety right now, we're talking about the criminal justice system. That many people say that we're either in a criminal justice crisis or one is looming. And in the face of complete transparency, you have experience on the criminal justice side of things. Do we really have a criminal justice crisis out there?
Well, right now our funding is stable this fiscal year. We do not have funding dedicated after June 2017. So instead of saying today there's a fiscal emergency, we say there's an imminent fiscal emergency. But I'm going to suggest that there's people in the community that believe there's an emergency right now because they're not able to get patrol, they're not able to get help. The Illinois Valley comes to mind. I met with several people from the fire department out in Illinois Valley, and they have a volunteer fire department. They have responded to calls that they have not been able to go in until the law enforcement arrives and makes the scene clear. And they said they had to wait because nobody was there and people have died over it. I don't want that to happen. I want anywhere that we live in this community to have the support that they need and the help that they need, because just carrying a firearm doesn't fix every circumstance. I do believe in the Second Amendment of rights. I do believe in carrying a firearm. I'm in law enforcement. I carry a firearm, but that doesn't mean that that fixes the drunk driver. That doesn't mean that fixes the other things that might happen in the community. So we need to find a way to get 24-hour patrols in our rural areas, and we need to be able to find a way that we can help our people feel safe. And the way that we do that is we work together as a community. We work with the other agencies around. And once we have those in place, we're also able to recruit the jobs and the companies here that we need to build our economy that will also help fund everything. So once the economy is stable and strong, we have to do that. But bringing up the Illinois Valley again, there's not a business in Cave Junction that has not been burglarized or vandalized, not a single business that hasn't been affected. And so how does that business continue to take those hits, those financial hits to their insurance and everything else, and feel like they can keep going if they don't have the support of the community? So if we want businesses to be here, we have to step up and say, we'll be a part of the solution. And I'm going to be willing to come to the table and talk with you about how we can provide these answers.
So is the answer economic development?
I think the answer is a little bit of everything. It's that we not give up. And, you know, we have some amazing things going on in this community right now. And just because there's not public safety funding does not mean that there's fiscal responsibility in other areas and we're getting things done. Look at our fairgrounds. They went from being in the red and being threatened to be closed. And in turn, they really got resourceful and brought in events, brought in other groups, and they're supporting themselves fully, and they're in the black. Our parks.
Okay, sorry about the our parks part. Next to last is Bill Earl. And I think it's kind of interesting to listen to these back-to-back, kind of an executive overview of what all the various candidates have to say. So here is Bill Earl and his chance to explain to you why he's running.
The microphones of KAJO, and why should we vote for Bill Earl for County Commissioner?
Well, first, thank you for having me this morning. The reason that you should vote for me, I believe Josephine County is one of the best places to live, work, and have a business in the entire country. However, we're at a very dangerous crossroads, and we need exceptional management and leadership talent to move forward. I looked at the scope of the job to see how I can help. Here's a summary of the organization. Under the commissioner's umbrella, there are 27 departments that range from airports and assessor to treasury and VA services. Next comes 19 advisory committees. The operating budget is about $80 million, and it's been going down. This organ is currently managed, in theory at least, by 3 commissioners. Well, what is Josephine County and what would we be managing? Josephine County is composed of about 1,600 square miles, 83,000 residents, which, interesting enough, almost 20,000 are veterans. The median household income is $53,000, but the individual income is only $28,000. The poverty rate's about 14%. There are about 53,000 registered voters, of which 13,000 are not affiliated with any party. Probably somewhere around 25 to 35,000 voters will be selecting the next leaders of the county. Well, why is Josephine County at a dangerous crossroads? Well, for 20 years, the county's been plagued with uncertain and uneven revenue flows and a low tax basis. 20 plus years ago, the county was based on a timber economy and generous revenues flowed to the county coffers. The revenue stream was so good that in some years they didn't even collect taxes. But in the 1980s, with the environmental movement and the spotted owl litigation, these sources dried up. The next step in the history of the county and the county government was the timber revenues were followed by the government stepping in with 12 to 15 million years to replace these lost revenues, and those were called secure revenue rural school funds. So now we're in the second level of depending on an outside source. About 4 years ago, these funds began to dry up as the federal government reduced these payments. So now we're at a dangerous crossroads where these uneven and uncertain payments have led us to a situation where how do we stabilize the county and move forward? I want to mention a couple of facts about this crossroads that we need to think about. In 25, the county had about 615 employees. Now they have 321. That's a 48% decrease. Public safety also downsized from 164 employees to 127. That's a 23%. And we've seen the sheriff employee count decrease from 89 to 51, so about 49%. So in conclusion, while the county government's been downsizing and the public safety service to include the jail operations have reached a real critical point. During the same period, our county budget has reduced to $80 million. The real danger exists on several fronts in that there is still this pattern of funding services from external uneven sources like in an addiction. First it is timber receipts, then federal payments. Now some county leaders are tempted to tap into other sources of funds such as roads and economic development funds. So the addiction continues and the uneven flow is uncertain. I'm advocating 3 ways to move forward. First, on the county governance side, I'd like to see us have 5 commissioners. 5 commissioners will enhance the representation of voters and provide more valuable input to solving problems and solutions. It'll provide a check and a balance when critical decisions are made, and it will also allow us to select the best programs and policies to move forward. On an economic development and business environment front, I want to focus on medium to long-range goals that will serve the future citizens of this county. I want to develop a Highway 199 business development plan that includes the IV airport. I want to build out the Merlin Business Park in that airport. It's really important that we integrate the city and county's public image as a great place to do business and jobs so we can attract other companies to come here. And of course, we need to get back to work on our timber revenues through coordination with the federal agencies. On public safety and taxes, I'm not in favor of any new big levies, nor having the governor come in and take over. I wanted to add new energy to the lottery local control project, where we could end up with about $5 million of predictable revenue each year from lottery sales. Some really good things are happening on this front. We just opened a sobering center, and that'll divert some of our criminal activity from jail beds and emergency wards to this low-cost sobering center.
It looks like we will have time for my statement. I told Chuck Benson that I didn't really need any notes and I didn't need any prompting from him. 10 minutes? Yeah, I can talk for 10 minutes. So, Mike, when you've had enough of listening to me, just give me the old cut sign and we'll stop it. Otherwise, we've got, I think, just enough time to play at least some of what I said. Here we go.
Welcoming to the microphones of KAJO is County Commissioner candidate for position 2, Dale Matthews. Dale, welcome to the studios of KAJO. And why should we vote for Dale Matthews for County Commissioner?
Well, I go to more of the county commissioners' meetings than they go to of their own meetings. In fact, I go to more county commissioners' meetings than all of the rest of the candidates combined. I've been doing this for over 12 years, and I know what's happening on a daily basis in the county and with county politics and city politics. I know something about every single candidate out there, you know that I do, but I'm not going to talk about the other candidates. And I'm also not going to talk a bit about, what about prosperity and patriotism? Of course, we all want that. Is there anybody that doesn't? That's the standard stump speech. Now, instead, I'm going to talk about what we can do starting day one. You're not going to have to wait with me for 9 months of training or a year of training. What can we do right away? First thing, first meeting, we're going to start with an invocation. We need all the help that we can get. And the second thing is, top priority for most of the citizens of Josephine County, would you please start doing something about this contract that we have with the federal government? Now, I'm not just talking about doing it, we've already started doing it. And I've got a couple other candidates to say, yeah, I'll join in on that. We're sending out hundreds of letters already to the decision makers in Washington, D.C. saying, you owe us on this contract. Either pay up on the contract or return our money to us. Now, does that mean they're going to be paying attention to all of us? Well, at the end of my term, they'll have 10,000 letters in their hands. Anybody can do this. The people who are currently in office can do this. They're not, but they could. So it's more than just lip service. It's more than just some grand plan that I'm going to do if I get paid. I'm doing it now. We try to keep track of everything that's happening in county government and tell you what the details are. So when it's said that there is an emergency situation with law enforcement, okay, Shouldn't every meeting during an emergency start with what is the current state of the emergency? It doesn't. The last time the county commissioners had the sheriff there, he was asking for more fuel-efficient cars so they could go to better classes. In an emergency? If there was an emergency for, let's say, the hills are on fire around here, we've all seen that. Shouldn't every meeting begin with the state of that emergency? And when that emergency happens, you've seen it happen before. They tap some of the people at the various departments and say, yes, I know that you're a secretary in planning, but we need you over in the emergency operations center because this is, hello, an emergency. That's not happening. What kind of emergency is this? Why aren't people acting like it's an emergency? And when Greg Walden comes here and he goes in the paper and he says, I've been asked by elected officials not to talk about the positive side of SRS repayments, not to talk about it. Well, what kind of game is this? When Senator Merkley was here a couple of years ago, he had one of the commissioners sit down with him and said, would you please stop telling us good news about SRS payments? How are we going to pass a levy? That's deception. Now, I'm definitely not saying that we don't need more money. Of course we do. But let's look at where some of that money can come from. Number one thing that we need to remember is our base rate. Oh, the base rate, it's 58 cents. Well, when you add in the money for the cats and dogs, it's 66. But the base rate's 58 cents. Well, I have a doubt that it's 58 cents. No, there should be no doubt that people have voted 9 times since 2000, not 2 times since 2 years ago or 4 times since 4 years ago or half a time since 6 months ago, 9 times since the year 2000. They don't want to go above that. Well, the people are knuckleheads. Okay, but it's their vote. This is America. And as the reporter from KAJO, from the newspaper said, he said, well, when is it that the losers get to win? In America? When they win the vote. Well, I want it now. No, it's 58 cents. So what are we going to do? Well, I insist that you change your mind. No, that's not working so well. Well, you're uneducated. No, they don't say that anymore. It's 58 cents. What we could be doing is we could be saying to people in other states and other counties, hey, look, come to Josephine County. We have the lowest property tax rate. Instead, it's a kind of a negative publicity. Well, we've got all kinds of crime. We got this and that. Well, that's not exactly the right way to sell our county, is it? Just so that you can get to your favorite goal? The people get to choose, and they have chosen. Now, you can say, well, they should choose law enforcement, that they should choose children and their best interest above pets. I kind of agree with that, but they don't. Again and again and again. Well, I don't like that. That's what they've chosen. They get to choose. That's it. So I'm going to back up what the people are saying. What does that mean? Well, it does not mean that you're going to have one big package that's never enough, right? Remember when they said $1.40? Why, we're going to have $1.40, but that's not really enough. If it's not enough, then don't vote for that. Well, then we'll come back with more. You know that's the case. So what you do is you say instead, where can the money come from? Okay, so Emergency Operations Center, we talked about this. So if there's a need, you take some of the people out of the various department heads. We're borrowing person. We're not firing anybody. Unions, don't get upset. And we're loaning them to the sheriff's department. Really? Yeah, well, the sheriff has said sometimes they don't have patrols out because they've got patrolmen answering the phones. So you take people that excel at answering the phone and you put them in there to answer the phone. What's hard about that? He could easily have 12 new people to help him get gun permits for people. There's lots of things that could be done. We watched when somebody came in with an alarm saying, there's arsenic in the water and it's going to affect Grants Pass. That doesn't mean it's going to affect Josephine County, but it's going to affect, and they don't know what they're doing and they're not paying for it, so we're going to pay for it. We're going to pay for it? $135,000, and Cheryl Walker said, well, that could go to pay for a sheriff and a car. Yes, it could. Where did that money come from? And when it turned out that that was all false, and was brought about to them by one of the candidates for county commissioner and a highly placed political person who kind of scared everybody. And when they found out that was totally wrong, where did that money go to? Are we really keeping track of the money? I was there when the county commissioners said on 2 levies ago, well, let's not tell everybody exactly how we're going to spend the money. Well, we'll keep it purposely vague. Purposely vague? I'm not giving you 2 cents if you're going to keep it purposely vague how it's going to be spent. There are ways that we can keep track of this. Here's another one. We get in $400,000 a year to promote economic development in our area. And one of the big arguments, see, I'm a big proponent for getting the sheriff more money. I'm not a big proponent for the idea of new sales taxes because I don't like the way they've been spending them so far. They're going to have to get that under control, and I'm not giving them anything. And $400,000 is available, and people have said, well, our economic development in the area is suffering because we don't have good law enforcement. Okay, economic development, let's take that economic development money and give the sheriff $400,000. No, we can't give it to a department. We're already giving it to departments. 4 different departments are getting that. 4 different departments that are arguably not a lot to do with economic development. They're shoring up their own departments. So there's no coincidence that when it comes down to making up your mind about how you're going to spend the money, they're not going to say, well, let's have a levy that will support planning. Nobody's going to vote for that.
1 minute, Dale.
Okay, thank you. So
that's enough out of you, Dale. Okay. So thank you very much for joining us this evening and seeing what the various candidates have to say. Mike, do you have anything to sum this up that will make people feel better about their lives and their county?
I don't know about that, but let me just tell you that I'll just end with my fascination. Right now, I know all that I need to know about local politics in terms of how to pick a candidate for this upcoming election. So I'm turning my focus to lettuce. And this is my hydroponic lettuce bin. There's a few of them. I've got a bunch. I'm going to be rotating them out in stages, but I have this fascination now. It's like I have to go outside 4 or 5 times a day and just look at my lettuce bins because I love watching them grow from where you could barely see a little green dot in each of these corners and in the center there. And now they're filling up, and another week and a half or so, you probably won't see any of the top of the container. So that's my fascination, and I will. That's the thing that makes me feel good from here on out. And I'm glad that we are all full up on information. And again, listen, if you know any of your friends that don't know what's going on, refer them here to patcounty.com for all this information. And tune in to any of the shows that we've done that go on at great length about who's running and what they stand for. I think this is going to be easy. We still got a few weeks here. Is it a few weeks? 2.5, 3 weeks?
It's exactly a month, as a matter of fact, today.
Oh, really?
Final day, exactly a month. But you're going to be receiving your voter's pamphlet and your ballot in the mail during the next few days, and then you can choose. This is something, our show here is something that's never been done before. We released the voter's pamphlet a month before it was out for everybody. We've gone to every one of these candidates for them. Yeah, it does seem like it's an awful lot, but nobody can say, gee, I didn't have the opportunity to really study those candidates. Brother, you've had an opportunity to study those candidates, Mike.
Yeah, you have, but I mean, the one thing that's bothering me here, and this is, may seem a little self-serving, it isn't at all, is that the view count on these, they seem to get up in the 300 area and then they stall. Now, that's not a very large part of the county, and it is probably greatly concentrated in the same 300 or 400 people all the time that are the regular people that are paying attention to what's going on in local politics. That's not enough. It is not enough to affect change. What we need is a core of several thousand people that are constantly plugged in to what's going on and paying attention, because who said the cost of liberty is eternal vigilance? Oh yeah, it's true. And unless you're paying attention, unless you know who these people are, because listen, these people that you're going to pick, what's in their heart, what's the policies that they subscribe to, is what's going to, it's going to be the thing that we're griping about for the next 4 years here.
Because it's going to cost us money. It's going to cost us money. It's going to cost us integrity. The state's going to be saying, hey, here's another group of people who are cheating.
Right. Yeah. So it's, I say if you have to put a couple hours into making a decent choice on that, I'd say that's a small price to pay. And I hope that you would feel the civic duty to make sure that you do that, and make sure that you proselytize it a little bit to your friends and even people who aren't your friends, and tell them, listen, please be informed, know who's doing what. You might even have, you can inject opinion that we don't inject on this show when it's talking about these candidates. I think that we have been incredibly objective. Now Dale and I both have our opinions. We have withheld them for the most part in the presentation of these candidates. And I think that if, but you can watch and you can editorialize when it comes to any one of these candidates when you're promoting to your friends, who you think they should vote for and stuff. So please do, please get in there and dig around.